Right. Good day to everyone. Again, my name is Taj. I've been in the field of education for 5 years already. Um, and I've been working closely with children from 18 months and above to their preteen. So today we will be talking about how to build character from day one, starting with the responsibilities. So when we talk about responsibilities, what are the usual things that come to your mind? You think about chores, you think about doing homework, you think about taking out the trash, things around the house. But did you know that responsibilities actually start with taking care of yourself? A child must know that when they are taking care of themselves, they are already responsible. Because there are children who are being taken care of by their nannies, by doting grandparents, or even single children that have a lot of attention from their mom and dad who don't know when it is time to already eat their food. I mean, how much food do they eat for them to be full? Some children don't have a grasp of these things because these are given freely given to them by the adults around them. Thus, they don't have the decision making skill for them to be responsible. So we actually start from self care, and it's not just with children that it has to start. It has to start with us being conscious parents or conscious adults. So what is a conscious parent? So if you've never heard this phrase before, you're probably wondering what it means. So it's being aware of who you are as a parent. And by being mindful and understanding the ways of how you take care of your own physical well-being and mental health, it will affect your relationships with your children. So the way you also motivate yourself to get up and exercise, to cook the food, your own food, the way you like challenge yourself when it's a rainy and cloudy day to actually take a bath. Like, what is your internal monologue to yourself? This will spill out to how you try to train or to teach your child or your students to accomplish their responsibilities of their own. So knowing how you keep yourself accountable with your own responsibilities like self-care, your own chores as an adult, paying bills, taking out loans. What other big adult things do we do? Like mortgage, choosing a house to live in, what kind of car do you want to buy for the first time? These responsibles as an adult, the way you tackle it, when you zoom it out, that's also how you teach your child unknowingly. So if you have a healthy approach with your inner child, this is something that you might want to ponder on, because even if we try to be perfect parents for our children or perfect caregivers, perfect early childhood educators, the perfect adult does not exist. And even if they do, conscious parenting is not about perfection. It's not about pretending that you're very spiritual, you're a guru. It's not about like overly judging yourself. Letting parenthood or early childhood caregiving catapult us into a greater awareness of ourselves and the world around us, is surrendering to what it is rather than being in the process of constantly trying to change where we find ourselves. So being open to learning from our children, as much as they learn from us or even more, is becoming more self-aware and conscious with our thoughts, with our behaviors. Because even if we don't like explicitly say it, the way we move towards a certain goal, the way your body reacts to something, the children, they absorb it like a sponge. So accepting that our job is not to mold our children, but to take care of ourselves so we can teach them to take care of themselves. So that is just how to be a conscious parent. So another way of saying being a conscious parent is gentle parenting. But as with our talks before, we did say that gentle parenting doesn't mean that you are passively letting your child decide for him or herself. So it's about using positive ways to discipline by listening to your own child, and helping them to cooperate, and understanding their responsibilities even as a child. So did you know that even children that are just 18 months old already have responsibilities to themselves? These are children you are teaching how to wear their own diapers. They have to know how to feed their own selves, because if you do this as a parent like every day and you don't teach them how to be responsible, um they will tend to depend on you. So on the event that you are not there, then you will be more worried. Who will feed my child? Who will dress him up? Who will clean up after the mess? Who will close the door? These are very simple tasks that we can actually allocate to our children, so we can also have some sort of safety. Of course, we don't let them be by themselves. We also double check when they do, when you do give them a task. It's also part of your responsibility as a parent to check if they have accomplished the task that you assigned to them. So before we talk about chores, let's talk more about being a conscious parent. There are six conscious conscious parent principles, core principles, and these are them. So self-awareness and self-reflection, that's number one. It's crucial in conscious parenting, because above all, conscious parents practice being aware of their own reactions, thoughts, beliefs, and even their emotional patterns and triggers. So the way you react to failure, for example, you're cooking following a recipe book, and then it doesn't turn up the way you want to turn it up. I mean, the way you want it to turn up. Of course, your children will be able to see like how you handle disappointment, how you handle frustration, and this is also how they will learn how to handle their own as well. So it's okay. I mean, I'm not telling you that you should like hold it in and like pretend like everything's okay. Everything will be good, because sometimes everything is not okay, and we have to be okay with that. We have to be okay with everything not being okay, because that is really just not the world works. And if we keep on exposing our children to a world that is perfect and sheltered inside our home, they won't learn the proper skills to handle it themselves when they are alone out in the world. Second is mindful presence. This is a very foundational conscious parenting core principle. It means being fully present in the moment when you are with your child. So not being distracted by work emails, by being worried about what the future may hold, and just entirely focusing on what is happening here and now. Third is non-judgment. So the way we react to our child is also related to our preconceived ideas and labels about ourselves and our children, or our parenting skills. You know how an uncle or an aunt would comment on how we parent our children, and sometimes you just try to shrug it off, but when it's nighttime and no one's really there, sometimes it gets to you, like maybe are they like do they have a point? Some self-reflection, but not judging yourself that harshly, and learning how to be gentle with yourself, and promoting acceptance, being curious about other people's ideas, and flexibility in interactions with your child is also key. So fourth is also being patient. So this is sometimes very difficult to do, especially when you have a daily 9 to 5 job, or even if you are the main caregiver. Like me, I am an early childhood educator. I may not be their parent, but I am with the children 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. So it requires a lot of patience, because they will try and fail and try and fail and try and fail multiple times. And even if they get it today, Tomorrow is not guaranteed. I mean, they are children. So understanding that change takes time, and for them to learn chores takes time. Um, and we have to know how to respond calmly and thoughtfully to challenging situations. Fifth is compassion. So it's about approaching ourselves and our child with kindness, understanding, and empathy, recognizing and validating their emotions. So if it's hard for them, and then you see that it's easy for another child, you can recognize that as well. I mean, if you see your child starting to compare themselves, don't stop their train of thought. Yeah, that might be new, right? If you see your child having their own brainstorming moment about, I feel like I'm not good because he can do it, and we've been doing this for 3 weeks, mom, and my friend can do it and I still can't. You don't tell your child, oh no, no, no. You don't stop his train of thought. You listen to how he processes his emotion. You acknowledge it, you validate it. Oh yeah, it really sucks that you've been doing it repetitively. If I was doing it like 3 weeks in a row, I would expect too that I would be able to do it. And that's really sad. And if I were in your situation, I would definitely be angry. But you know what? The world doesn't end today, and you don't have to keep on doing it. If you want to try a different hobby, or if you want to do a different club, or if you want to do it a different way, I will be here with you throughout the way. So see, having compassion, and approaching the situation with empathy without blocking your child's thought process is also helping them, recognize their own emotions and not bottling it up to themselves. And lastly, self-care. So taking care of yourself through reflection, relaxation. So it's not all about learning chores to be accomplished and have a contribution. It's also, having that connection, a closer connection with your child that you might not have had if you like always appoint chores to certain nannies like that, because I know some households might have nannies that take care of all of the chores, and leaving the child to none and just playing and sleeping and eating, basic things in the house. Yeah, but if you like appoint it to your child, it will give you a different way to connect with them, because it's a safe challenge inside their own home, or it's a safe challenge inside your classroom, that you can actually watch them and process them and um work with them as time passes by. So there are actually four key attributes. Let's talk about chores now. Enough about conscious parenting, and we've talked about that from other talks. Um, Chores are an essential part of family life and even classroom management. Getting kids involved in household tasks, because it is very crucial for their development. So for physical development, cognitive, language skills, problem solving, emotional. So let me just give you a quick example. So how do you think a 5-year-old um would be learning in the process of folding clothes? Physically, they will learn fine motor skills, spatial awareness of how much folding do they need to fold for the shirt to sit just right, how big of a space do they need to start folding their clothes and all. Cognitive, following steps from previous instruction and remembering them from memory. Language is also developed because they are able to ask for help, re-clarify about certain steps that they don't know. For children who are learning a second language, if English is not their mother tongue, if the first language of a child is your own mother tongue and you're trying to teach them English, you can actually integrate that to a different chore. Some children as well who have three or more languages, the way to teach them is to incorporate certain languages to a specific chore. So, for example, you want your child to learn Chinese. The only place you speak Chinese is in the kitchen. So every time you're in the kitchen, you address your children in Chinese. Or if you want them to learn French, because for example, your new partner is French and you want your child to be able to speak the language, or maybe you migrated to a different country, you may want to use their language in a different setting and incorporate those words for the child to absorb new language in an effortless and natural way. Problem solving, so they will know how to work with different fabrics, and you will also know more of their personality, like how do they sort their own clothes. Do they sort it by color? Do they sort it by the way it sits on the cabinet, just like cottons and linens are different, or do they sort it by different kinds of clothing, or all the jackets together, or all the shorts together, and emotional, handling emotions when they don't get their target output, and also having that pride in accomplishing tasks. So motivating kids to do chores not only lightens the load for parents, but also teaches children valuable life skills. Now, is it always easy to motivate kids to do chores at home? Um, Probably not. Even if there is positive reinforcement via words and affirmations, even us as adults have hard times motivating ourselves when we do our own responsibilities. So we can reinforce these chores with logical rewards or punishment. So, what is a logical reward or punishment? So, these are things that they are able to gain, or consequences that they will be able to experience if they do or do not do the task. So, for example, taking the laundry out and putting it by the washing machine. So maybe this is a task for a 7-year-old. They are not the ones washing the machine, but since their bedroom is upstairs, it will be less load for you as a mom or as a dad or as a caregiver to have all the clothes prepped by the washing machine. Just take it down, put it down right there. What might be the natural consequence for not taking out? What do you think might be the natural consequence for a 7-year-old with a full bin of like dried up, sweaty clothes from a week? I mean, let's say you do your laundry every week. One of the consequences, of course, it will attract bugs, or it will affect the natural smell of the room. The air circulation of their room, it will change. Also, their clothes might also get easily spoiled because they're not cleaned daily, and some might even have mold, if they don't, if you're not very focused or very attentive to the different like corners of the clothes of children. You may not notice if your child is very active. There might be some spoiled places over there. So that's a natural consequence. But what is the reward? The reward is that they will not get nagged by their parent. They won't get disturbed from their free time activities. So for example, they're already having fun, for example, playing with their friends in the living room. You don't have to bother them to, they will not experiencing you they will not experience you asking them to take it down and waste those precious minutes from their friends or from doing their hobbies. Sometimes when a child is concentrated on doing a task, they will most likely benefit from it more if they are focused on the task. So rewarding for them to enjoy their free time on their own without being nagged with different chores that they could have done earlier on in the day. So this shows children how much power and control that they actually have in a given situation. And it creates empowered children who know that they are in control of how situations would go. And since they are children, of course, they will not always be in control. So, when possible, it is important for teachers, parents, caregivers, and other adults in the child's life to allow freedom of choice when possible. So, this in turn will give the child a major confidence boost, allowing children to have the freedom to make their own choices of when and how they're going to do certain chores helps us see how our kids react to positive or negative consequences. And this can also give us a cue of how we are going to process them during one-on-one time, such as um maybe when you're just driving in the car, hey, you know that other time when I asked you to take down the laundry and you didn't, and then you said you didn't care. You have that logical conversation as well, so they don't feel like you're just nagging. You're also keeping them accountable with things that they have shared, and things that that have happened in the past, helping them remember that, hey, I actually did that. um you know they they will feel more connected with you because you are also paying attention to them as a child and as a parent. So um for children in the primary grades, responsible decision making skills can also be related to grades, because traditional schools still have grades, um numbered grades, and they need to understand the logical reward or consequence to that, which is sometimes the bragging rights to their friends. So if you did study for a test, of course, you will um you will have that sense of pride with your friends that, hey, I studied for this. I left early the other time during karaoke day because I had to study for this exam and I actually aced it. So having that logical rewards and consequences can actually help your child make responsible decisions at school and recognize their own skill when making their own choice. So we need to understand that everyone makes mistakes. But the important thing, as I said a while ago, is we acknowledge them and learn from them. This is such a good skill to model for children. So even us as adults, we have to let them know that we make mistakes. So we have to model to them how to apologize to each other if we have failed another person. How do you want your child to learn that? By modeling what they might want to say. So they have to have a clear responsibility for their actions. So model good apologies like, I'm sorry, or I really forgot because I was busy. Next time I will set an alarm on my phone, and children should understand what not to say, like blaming other people. Oh, it's because this other person was keeping me up all late up at night. That's why I wasn't able to get up in the morning. Like blaming other people in front of your child, they will also absorb that kind of habit. So let's try to teach them ownership by asking them questions such as, what happened in your perspective, what happened, how did that make you feel when you succeeded or when you failed, how did you feel at the moment, how do you feel now, during the activity, what was your brain saying, what was the hardest part, um, do you think there is any way you can do this better? If you think you're already winning, there is still a better way to do it. So do you think there is a better way? Having training your child how to be logical is a very nice trait to start from the beginning. So what are the benefits of chores and tasks? Chores and tasks actually have benefits for children. So doing chores helps. It helps children. It helps children understand the importance of contributing to the household or to the classroom. So when children take part in household tasks, they learn to take ownership of their responsibilities, which gives them a sense of accountability and maturity. So it also teaches life skills, which will translate to work ethics in the future when they are adults as well. Um, and learning accountability in the home, with chores related to others, or even responsibilities such as self-care, routine work, will teach them how to be responsible. Oh, and do note that when you are giving your children tasks, you make sure that you do keep them accountable with what they're supposed to be doing. So, what are some of the effective techniques? What are some of the effective techniques for motivating a child? So, for visual learners, there are actually ways to do it, because a reward system can be great to motivate children to do chores, because even if logical rewards are very satisfying, sometimes making it even more, I mean, giving them the challenge to do it will help them to be more motivated. So, for example, for visual learners, using a jar system or maybe a chore list where kids can learn marbles. I mean, they can earn marbles for completing tasks, and then when it reaches a certain level in a jar, they will be able to complete something. I think I have a photo of it here. Yeah, here you go. So, for example, you can have beads like this. Actually, anything that you can find nearby your home. It can even be just star papers. You know how to make the stars with the paper. You just have to cut it in strips and then fold it so that it becomes stars. It can actually be beads for your jars to motivate them. So for example, maybe a handful of beads will be given for every dish that is put in the sink. So they're not really going to wash it. So this is more for children in the lower age. For example, they're only 7 or 6 or 7, and you just want them from the dining area to the kitchen. Just bring their dirty dishes in the sink and maybe splash some water on it so it doesn't gather ants or get dried up. Um, that's already a handful of beads. And when they do achieve a certain level, they will have certain rewards, such as there you go, the things here, extra free time or something that maybe they like, having playtime with you, or even iPad time. I mean, in this day and age where children usually would have an iPad or a computer in their home. You know how frequent it is that I hear 4-year-olds playing with Roblox already, having this amount of exposure, watching YouTube videos. You know, it's really inadvisable for children to be exposed to prolonged screen time, especially now that there are a lot of dangers in the internet that cannot be easily moderated um by just having the setting set to kids, because predators have their ways of reaching their audience, which is sadly our children and young aged teens. So anything physical, it doesn't have to be monetary, trading in marbles or having jars like these for your students, or even having tokens that they can choose from. For example, if they're able to be accountable even in a small task such as brushing their teeth. If you are able to brush your teeth morning and night, and before you go to school and after, without dad asking you, you will be you are yeah, you can take one token from this bag, so they can get a morning donut, a small toy at the store, setting limits to what you are able to give as well. I mean, prior giving them the freedom to choose a token randomly from a bag, you can already take out the things that you don't want them to experience for that week. So, for example, you don't have the time and resources to have a day trip of choice. Then you can just remove it. Then it will just be a surprise. I mean, they won't know what's inside the bag, but they would know what are the possibilities that they might have. So some parents opt to pay their kids an allowance for doing chores, monetary allowance for doing chores as a way to teach financial literacy. While this approach can help children understand the value of money and work, and providing a practical lesson in earning and saving, paying a small allowance for extra chores outside of their regular responsibilities can help teach budgeting, and saving for desired items. But having this monetary motivation for children might backfire because children might become dependent on payment for participation. So even things such as contests, quiz bees, um, fairs, if they like don't if the fair or the competition doesn't really like have a monetary prize, it the child might not want to do things, which is also not beneficial for them because it will undermine their intrinsic motivation to help out or to participate in community activities. It's important to balance financial rewards with other forms of motivation. Because children might begin to expect payment or prizes for all chores, even routine tasks such as brushing teeth, folding your own clothes, taking out the trash, sweeping your bedroom. You know, we have to actively discuss with children the reason why we have chores and responsibilities, which is to be able to be contribute to the family and being part of the team. So the key is to just find a balance between the two that is right for your class, for your family, and your children's ages as well. Yeah, there you go. So we have to emphasize contribution and teamwork um, by letting children understand that even with a young age, actually, you don't even have to say that even with a young age. I mean, that's the age that they know. That's the age that they've been their whole lives. So you just have to let them know that as a person, as a person who is living in this roof, or as a human using your own body, you have to contribute in your own well-being and others' well-being as well by participating in chores. So there are simple tasks that are easy to manage, and you can gradually introduce this to your child. So for example, now um you just started thinking of implementing chores in your household. Maybe it hasn't been a thing because all your children were below 5, and now suddenly you feel that they um might want to start having some responsibility. You want to teach them responsibility because it might be getting too much in the house. So you should start with simple tasks first that they are able to easily accomplish so that they're not daunted or not easily tired with the tasks that you give them. So tasks such as picking up toys, and then just gradually to like keeping your shoes where they're supposed to be, taking out your socks from your shoes, to even bigger tasks such as wiping the table, um, or washing the dishes even for like children who do Montessori curriculums already have an exposure of things such as cooking for themselves, easy recipes such as banana and cereal or strawberries with yogurt, things like this. And exposing children to things like this will help them to get involved. So also as a parent, you don't like allocate all the tasks to your children. Of course, you also have to model it yourself. So you have to also expose yourself. I mean, expose your children to you doing the chores. So even if you like complain about it, we still have to do it. I mean, sometimes it is understandable that you are not in the mood. So you can also show your children how you maintain your composure, but also handle your own emotions of frustration with not wanting to do chores, but still doing it as part of being responsible with everyone and to yourself. So I know as well that it could be very tempting to use chores as a mode of punishment. So, like, if you don't finish your homework, or if you're the last one doing your homework among the siblings, then you're going to do the dishes. If it's not consensual for both you and all of the children in your home or inside your classroom, it might have a negative association with doing tasks as well. So um it might give children a sense of guilt and shame when you're, I mean, related to chores. So we focus as much as possible on positive reinforcement and find alternative methods for discipline that do not involve chores. So disciplining or giving them consequences, as I said a while ago, doing chores is not really it's not a logical consequence. For example, if you if you don't wash daddy's car, then you're going to wash mommy's car as well. It's just, it doesn't make sense. Before you say it to your child, maybe try saying it in your mind first. I mean, try to say it to yourself. And if it feels like it doesn't make sense to you, like, don't threat your child with it, because it will also hinder them from connecting the dots in their head. They might think, oh, I will do extra chores because I was not able to accomplish this properly, or because I forgot about this. Scaring your own children, your own students is not really the way to go. Um, okay, moving on. So praise and recognition, that is actually the way, but there is a way of praising a child. So it's not, saying, it's not about mentioning their outcome, like, oh, this is so clean, this is the best, um this is the cleanest you've ever cleaned in the whole week. You're focusing on the outcome. Instead, you can praise them descriptively, like, I saw you were really wiping the table with big strokes, and I feel that that might have been a lot of effort from you with your arms as a 5-year-old. So I like the way that you found the spot. I found the way to sweep the floor. I was able to catch a glimpse of you tying up the trash. That's a different way to tie up the trash. I think it's not going to unravel when you throw it in the bin outside. I think that's a great way you were able to invent it yourself. Or I like how everything in your room has a certain place for everything. So you have a certain spot for your lamp, and it makes sense. That's actually very smart. Like, praising the process of how your child was able to accomplish the task is more genuine than, non-specific praise, such as, you're such a good boy for doing this task. You're such a good girl for um washing dishes. Thank you so much. You have to tell them they're helpful, or that, oh, you did not use a lot of soap today. See, I told you you don't need to use a lot of soap. Before there were a lot of bubbles, but now you're able to use just enough. I'm using description to also help them remember what they did correctly this time. Will be helpful for them as well. So you can also use encouragement before the actual task, such as, can you show me how fast you can keep your toys? I think you can do it in less than 20 seconds. Or can you show me how how quickly you can pack away your cot or your bed sheets? Like, is there a different technique you've learned since the last time that I watched you do it? Or for older children, you can say, I know you're very nervous, but I know I've watched you studied hard. You've been staying up late, and no matter how it turns out, you'll know you did your best because you actually tried to review it. So for some children, especially those who are less confident than others, they might need more encouragement. But when praise is focused on effort, children are more likely to see trying hard as good in itself. So they're more likely to keep trying and to be more optimistic when they are facing challenges. So yeah, you can keep it fun, especially in the classroom or at home. Even you can do printouts of like leaderboards, chore charts. It can look like this. See, in the classroom, actually, I do this leaderboard where they can have like a pledge leader when you're doing the pledge, if you have that, or national anthem, token leaders, pencil leaders, whatever you can think of that you might be able to use. Now, this one is a wheel from Delta. Wait, mhm. This is actually a printable. Maybe I'll share it in the chat. Or maybe later, if you want me to share it in the chat, do like type it there, and then I will send you the link. Because I want to show you some more resources and more examples of what chores and responsibilities might look like in the classroom and at home. Um, so so this one I found it in in a vlog in a blog that I feel like it's very useful. So you have to teach the why when you're showing responsibility to old children. So again, I'm teaching what community is all about. So this is more in the viewpoint of teachers teaching it to their class, to their homeroom class. So you have to tell them that people that are responsible achieve more, have more successful lives because they know how to successfully achieve a certain target. Um, and it helps children see what they do and do not have control over. So you might have some strong-willed children in your class that might want to do everything inside the class and might have their own specific way in doing things like sorting the colored pencils into height, like keeping all the pencils sharpened. And if only one child or one or two, a few children are doing it, it might also be stressful for them in the long run. So you also have to teach the why, connecting choices with consequences, having assignments such as what I showed you a while ago, and admitting responsibility for actions and taking actions to fix it if needed. So these are some of the tasks that you may want to start with as your child is growing up. So as I told you a while ago, it doesn't really start in a certain age, even as young as when they start sitting up or standing up already. Believe me, as an early childhood educator, children are already can already be taught being responsible to their own selves, such as wearing their own diapers or feeding themselves or sleeping by themselves. Have you ever seen a child who cannot seem to sleep by themselves and would need patting, would need like some ritual? And it does take time for you as a parent and as a caregiver as well. If you have, for example, in 20 children, you have 5 children that you need to pat to go to sleep. You need to be beside you to go to sleep. So in that sense, they're not really that responsible in putting their own selves to sleep. So, you can teach that to a child as young as this. So when they are starting to grow older and starting to be more verbal, you can include them in chores such as laundry, things that they are frequently exposed to and would be logical for them um to join. So it can be like one-on-one sessions with you and your children. So maybe the first child will be on the first week, the second child will be on the second week, and then you just let them not really fold the clothes just yet, because for like 2 to 3s, they are still learning how to grasp and use their own limbs and hands. But instead, you can teach them how to sort into colors, or maybe can you help me sort mommy's and daddy's clothes and baby's clothes. So your child is also busy while helping you without, you like explicitly telling them that this is a chore. I am expecting you to do this, and you're going to start it now. That if you do it that way, of course, it's going to be quite stressful for a toddler. But if you do it in a way where there is connection, where there is empathy, a child, it will be natural for them to handle like things such as just folding the laundry. Or for children who are a bit older, maybe they're already almost halfway through 3. You can teach them how to hold on to their litter. For example, when you're in the park, being responsible is also not throwing candy wrappers around or their cups on the floor. Just showing them that you're not randomly throwing your litter in the park is also a form of responsibility for them as citizens of your community. Inside, also packing away their toys is a community. I have seen, I've been a home tutor as well, and I have seen some play areas, playrooms of children that are not packed neatly, or if they are, it's usually the moms or the caregivers that are packing it away. You can actually teach your child um, the momentum of packing away. So if they do like spill out all the bins, then let them experience the natural consequence of keeping all the toys that they spilled on the floor. Then maybe next time they will like have a hint. Last time I kept my toys for a very long time. That was so tiring. I don't want to keep picking up my toys. So they might not want to spill all the blocks on the floor, or they might not want to mix their toys if that's the kind of child that they are. If they get stressed, like, hey, why is this ball in this bin of puzzles? Some children can be a bit specific with how they pack away, and that is also reflective of how their parents manage them when they are keeping their own toys. So if you see a child in your classroom getting stressed up about mixing toys, that might be a hint to you with how a parent is talking to them at home, or it might be a hint to you as a parent of how you also sort your things in your own drawers or in your own dressers. So your child is like absorbing all these like mannerisms and habits and opinions, and you might be learning from them as well. So another logical consequence is if they spill something when you're teaching them to drink from a cup or from a glass, they're the ones who will wipe it. So even if it is tedious, as I said a while ago, it has to be very authentic and intentional, where you really are focused on the child. Like even if it takes up an additional 5 minutes in the future, it will save you 5 minutes. So you take up the time now, and you be more intentional with the way you handle chores and logical consequences for your child. When they're a bit older, you may want to teach them how to wash their own dish. For example, it's just one piece of dish. Mom can't always be, or dad can't always be in the kitchen washing things. If they're able to understand sequence already, you might want to introduce doing um bigger chores such as washing dishes. Of course, as a parent, you know that they are learning. So of course, don't let them, have a designated set of cutlery for them to use. Maybe plastic ones, or maybe not glass. There are there are plates that are meant for children who are learning, could be made of wood. It really depends on what is available to you. But just make sure these are not very heavy ones that they can't really lift. But as they grow older, of course, you can let them handle um ceramics or glass. And even if they fail, you have to see also how they handle it. It's also a teachable moment for you. Um for their preteens, where they already have preferences, teaching them how to make their own food when they're hungry, not being hungry for hours on end and then being cranky later on, teaching them how to identify when it is a good time to eat. Like, it's 1 a.m. a good idea for fried rice for a teenager? These kinds of things, you also like process them, but also let them make their own mistakes and stories as well. So when they're teenagers, you can actually let them do their own groceries by giving them a budget, teaching them how to manage their own expenses, their own allowance. Of course, you have to start that as young as they are. So when you do bring them in the grocery, maybe you'd like to keep yourself accountable as well when you're keeping to a budget. The way you talk to yourself and the way you frame the whole activity is also important, because when they do grow up, that is also one of the ways, partially one of the ways of how they will be handling their own groceries as well. Um, and when they're older, it can be related to not really older, even primary grades can have own responsibility in academics, learning when, frequency of reviewing, how to take notes, when to reach for help, how to work collaboratively. That is also a chore that will help them be more responsible and collaborative as they are growing up. So I think, yeah, here. So these are a list of age appropriate chore ideas for these ages. But of course, this is just a suggestion, and you don't have to like be strict in following. Like, for example, for ages 9, spraying stains on the laundry. Even a child that is quite experienced with chores, that is 5 years old, you can already teach them how to spray stains. Of course, they won't be as successful as a 9-year-old, but having that exposure will lessen your time introducing it later on. So even entertaining themselves is also a responsibility. We really can't let our children be on their phones, be on their iPads, on their computers the whole afternoon or the whole evening. They also have to be responsible with their eye health, with their own health. If they are just lying down the whole day, they won't be able to get their 1 hour of physical activity. And that is the recommended amount of activity for a child, an hour. So they have to be moving for an hour for them to be able to sleep. For them to be able to sleep at night or even nap in the afternoon. So these are some of the things that you might want to um, print out, or you can edit yourself, or even you can make a list with your child um, with things that they might want to do. It's also like part of brainstorming of what can be done in your home that doesn't need technology. It's also an eye opener for you. Are there activities in my home that my child can do without technology, or are all, or do they have like a deficiency of toys? So there, you that's also an eye opener for a parent or a teacher if your child is unable to like think of other activities other than their gadgets. Now here's some more age appropriate chores. You might want to take a screenshot of the screen. Oh, but the presentation will be shared anyway. Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, that's all for teaching our children responsibilities from day one. So I hope you learned a lot of tips and techniques from being a conscious parent to how to motivate our children to actually allocating tasks for different age groups, and how to motivate them to do it before, after, and during. Yeah, that's it for our talk today. Thank you so much for attending. Um, yeah.